So picture this. You're hiking alone on a trail you've done 100 times. Quiet, familiar, the kind of hike where your mind wanders freely. But for the last 10 minutes, you've had company. You just don't know it yet. Most predators that could do this to you don't actually want to, but 4 of them do. 2 entire species, 2 individual animals, and they don't attack out of fear or confusion. They hunt, like you're on the menu. One of them has the highest individual kill count of any animal in recorded history. One of them is killing hundreds of people right now this year, and nobody's making movies about it. And the animal everyone's most afraid of really doesn't belong on this list at all. So why have you never heard of the one that's actually the most dangerous? And why does the obvious answer turn out to be completely wrong? Stay with me. Before we get to the 4, we need to talk about the one that isn't on the list. Great white sharks do not hunt humans. I know that feels wrong. Jaws did a number on all of us, but every time scientists actually study a great white attack, the same thing keeps happening. The shark bites once, figures out you're not a seal, and leaves. That's not hunting. That's the world's most terrifying taste test. Researchers have looked at bite patterns, attack sequences, everything. The conclusion is almost always the same. Great whites are investigatory biters. You're a weird object that showed up in their water, and they checked. You are not prey to a great white shark. You're more like a confusing rock that bled. And here's the thing. The reason we got this so wrong matters. Great white attacks make the news. They get documented, filmed, turned into franchises. One great white bite on a surfer in California becomes a global headline. Meanwhile, the animals that are actually deliberately hunting humans are doing it quietly, in places without cameras, without reporters, often without anyone making a documentary about it. Part of that is media. Part of it is geography. The animals hunting people in rural Africa and South Asia aren't hunting the people who make the nature documentaries. We got scared of the loud one. We missed the quiet ones entirely. That's the pattern this whole video is about. Right now, somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, someone is walking to the water's edge, maybe to wash clothes, maybe to cross a river, maybe just to collect water for the day. And there is a Nile crocodile in those shallows that has been waiting. It does this every day. It has been doing this every day for longer than our species has existed. The Nile crocodile kills somewhere between 300 and 1,000 people every year. That range is big because most of these attacks happen in rural areas where nobody's keeping records. The real number is almost certainly on the higher end. And yet, most people couldn't tell you this animal belongs on a list like this one. I honestly think that's the strangest part of this whole video. We're going to talk about an animal that kills more people than almost anything else on the planet, and most of you have never thought twice about it. Here's why it's different from everything else we're going to talk about. The crocodile never made a decision to hunt humans. There was no injury that forced it toward us, no shortage of prey, no moment where it figured something out. It hunts humans because humans go to the water, and the water is its domain. And anything that enters that domain gets evaluated as food. It doesn't distinguish. It never has. You just showed up. It doesn't even know that's impressive. The ambush is identical to the one it runs on wildebeest, on zebra, on any large mammal that approaches the surface. It holds position completely still below the waterline. Doesn't move until the target is close enough. And then it explodes upward faster than anything that size should be able to move. You are not reacting to that. Studies have clocked the strike speed. It's over before your nervous system has processed that anything happened. You don't hear it. You don't see it. You just suddenly have something enormous clamped onto your leg and you're underwater. And I know that sounds like an exaggeration. It's not. The people who survive describe the same thing every time, no warning. Just sudden, total grip, then water closing over their head. And then the death roll starts. A Nile crocodile can't chew. Its teeth are for gripping, not cutting. So it spins, over and over while submerged until whatever it's holding tears loose. Unlike a shark, which lets go after the first bite, the crocodile doesn't let go, which, if you think about it, is actually the more honest hunting strategy. The shark checks, the crocodile commits. There is a crocodile in Burundi named Gustave. estimated close to 20 feet long, believed to have been born sometime in the 1950s, and linked to as many as 300 human kills along Lake Tanganyika. Though that number has never been officially verified, he's been shot at, trapped for, studied for decades. Whether he's still alive is genuinely unknown. They made a documentary about him in 2004. They did not catch him. I'm not sure what's more disturbing, that Gustav existed, or that we still don't really know what happened to him. Half of all Nile crocodile attacks are fatal, and it kills more people on this list than anything else every single year without having learned anything new, without having adapted at all. It's just doing what it's always done. Crocodilians shared the planet with dinosaurs for tens of millions of years. They watched them go extinct. They survived the asteroid that ended the Cretaceous, watched mammals spread across the planet, watched humans crawl out of Africa and build cities and satellites and make nature documentaries about everything except this animal. The basic ambush program, same strategy, same strike, has barely changed. The Nile crocodile is the latest version of something that has never needed an update, and it never will. It isn't a monster trying to break the rules. It's the rule itself. And I don't know about you, but I think that's incredibly disturbing. Now here's where it gets strange, because the next two cases on this list weren't born hunting humans. Something happened, and then they learned. And once they learned, they didn't stop. The Champawat tiger, female Bengal tigress, Nepal and northern India, early 1900s. 436 documented kills. Guinness World Records, highest kill count of any individual animal of any species in recorded history. Not a species, not a population, one animal. Think about it, 436 kills. That's not a war. That's not a disease. That's one tiger. Think about what roughly 7 years of this actually looked like. Entire villages stopped functioning. People refused to leave their homes. Jim Corbett, who eventually hunted her, described arriving in villages where crops were rotting in the fields because nobody would go outside. Children who had never once been allowed to play outdoors. The Nepalese government organized massive hunting parties, hundreds of men driving through forests trying to push her out. They succeeded in pushing her across the border into India. They did not succeed in stopping her, which somehow just makes it worse. Running parallel to this, same region, same era, the Pinar leopard, reportedly over 400 kills, though the historical documentation is thinner than for the tiger. Entering homes, dragging people out of huts while their families watched. So silent in its approach that villages often didn't know it had been there until someone was missing in the morning. Two apex predators, same era, same part of the world. It's as close to a horror movie plot as real life gets. And Corbett killed both of them. Over his career, he hunted more than 30 man-eating cats, tigers and leopards collectively responsible for over 1,200 documented human deaths, including the Champawat and the Pinar. His books are still in print, and the national park named after him in India is now one of the most important tiger conservation areas in the world, which is honestly one of the stranger endings to a story about a man famous for hunting man-eating tigers. Now here's the part that reframes everything. When Corbett examined the Champawat tiger, he found her canine teeth completely shattered, almost certainly from a bullet wound she'd survived years before. And here's the thing, a healthy tiger almost never targets humans. The risk doesn't make sense. Humans are unpredictable. They make noise, sometimes they fight back, there's easier prey. A healthy tiger in a functioning ecosystem doesn't need to find out what humans are like. But a tiger with broken teeth can't bring down a deer, can't catch what she normally eats. So she has a problem. And humans walking through fields without weapons, without the instincts of prey animals, turn out to be a pretty workable solution to that problem. And I know that's an incredibly uncomfortable sentence to read. It's supposed to be. It started with the injury. Then came a successful hunt. Then another. The Champawat learned humans were catchable. And it was all too easy. And she stopped being desperate and started just hunting. I know that sounds worse than the injury explanation. It is worse. The injury was a circumstance. What came after was a choice. The Pinar leopard is a different version of the same story. Corbett found tooth decay and gum disease, not a bullet wound. Researchers theorize this one may have started by scavenging human corpses left unburied during disease outbreaks, learning humans as food before it ever made a live kill. When the conditions changed, it went looking for what it had learned to associate with eating. It's a theory, not a certainty. But the pattern absolutely fits. And if you think the tiger's story was bad, a leopard that learned this from a disease outbreak and just kept going is somehow worse. Both animals crossed a line. And the line, it turns out, only goes one way. I've read a lot about both of these animals, and that's the part that's hard to shake. So here's the uncomfortable one. Of all the cases on this list, the polar bear is the one that needs the least unusual circumstance to start hunting you. No injury, no learned behavior, no moment where something went wrong. It's just what they are. And I know that's a less satisfying answer than a broken tooth or a cholera epidemic, but it's the honest one. A 2017 study analyzed 73 polar bear attacks spanning more than a century and a half. 20 of those resulted in human fatalities, and out of those 20, 18 were classified as predatory. Researchers call it hunting. Not defense, not provocation. The same label they'd give a polar bear killing a seal. The polar bear is the most carnivorous bear alive. Grizzlies eat berries, fish, insects. They're basically omnivores that sometimes get scary. Polar bears eat almost exclusively meat. Their entire evolutionary history is built around hunting large prey in an environment with nowhere to hide and nowhere to run, where patience and silence are the whole strategy. When a polar bear approaches something, it doesn't bluff charge. It doesn't vocalize. It doesn't give you any of the warning signs you'd see from a grizzly. It moves exactly the way it moves on seals. Quiet, direct, and already committed. Researchers describe it as silent stalking with no investigatory phase. It's not checking you out. It already decided. And the craziest part is that there's no curiosity phase, no hesitation. Just a decision that already happened before you knew it was there. The hunting sequence is worth understanding. A polar bear finds a seal's breathing hole in the ice, lies completely flat, and waits. No movement, no sound, sometimes for hours. When the seal surfaces, it strikes in a single motion, no wind-up, no warning. People love to talk about how majestic polar bears are, and they are. But they're also an animal whose entire existence relies on sitting perfectly still in the dark, waiting for something to breathe. That same template is what it runs on humans, which means if you're in polar bear territory and you don't know there's a bear nearby, that's actually the most dangerous situation you can be in. The silence isn't safe. The silence is the hunt. The 2011 Svalbard attack is the clearest modern example. British students on an expedition. An adult male bear approached their camp silently before dawn, killed one student, and injured 4 others before being shot. Post-mortem found the bear was likely in poor condition, which actually parallels what we saw with the tiger and leopard. But investigators classified the attack as predatory regardless. The bear had treated the campsite the way it treats a seal haul-out. Found it, waited, moved. That's it. That's the whole process. Whether the poor condition caused the attack or just made the bear less cautious about approaching a camp, the classification was the same. This was a hunt. The reason these attacks are rare isn't because polar bears don't classify humans as potential prey. It's because almost no humans are ever in polar bear territory. And I think that's worth sitting with. The frequency isn't low because the bear wouldn't. It's low because we aren't there. The overlap is small, but as sea ice retreats and polar bears spend more time on land near human settlements, that overlap is growing. Attack rates have increased in recent decades. This is almost certainly not a coincidence. What makes the polar bear different from every other case on this list is that there's no story explaining it. No broken tooth, no epidemic, no threshold it had to cross. Think about what this animal actually is, a hunter built for darkness and cold, built to find large prey in exactly those conditions. And that's exactly where you are. So here's the actual answer to the question this whole video has been building toward. Why are we terrified of the wrong animals? Well, the answer may surprise you, as it simply comes down to the fact that the ones we're afraid of make noise. A great white attack makes headlines across the world. Shark Week exists. Jaws exists. Every great white bite gets documented, analyzed, turned into content. The shark is loud, the shark is visible. The shark gives us something to point at. The Nile crocodile kills hundreds of people every year in rural sub-Saharan Africa, and most people watching this video had no idea before right now. The Champawat tiger paralyzed entire regions of 2 countries for roughly 7 years, and most people have never heard her name. The polar bear approaches in silence, and there's no warning and no record because there's often nobody around to make one. The cases that are genuinely hunting us share one thing the great white doesn't. They're quiet about it. And we, as a species, are very bad at being afraid of quiet things. I honestly don't know why that is. Maybe quiet threats don't give us anything to argue about, or make movies about, or build entire cable networks around. The shark gives us Shark Week. The crocodile just keeps going. And we just keep walking to the water. The tiger and the leopard both crossed a threshold. Injury, learned behavior, something that pushed them toward humans. The polar bear didn't need one. And humans, it turns out, are not a hard problem for any of them. We're slow, we're predictable, we follow the same paths at the same times. We have no natural weapons, and none of the instincts prey animals spend their whole lives developing. For anything that's already decided to try us, we are genuinely easy. And I know that's a grim reality to sit with. It is for me too. The crocodile never even needed to decide. It just never noticed we were different from anything else that wanders to the water. And the great white shark, the one that launched 1,000 nightmares, is out there right now biting surfboards and letting go. The quiet ones are still hunting. They just don't need you to know about it. If you want to see another video about the animals we completely misunderstand, check out the one on sperm whales. What they can actually do is way stranger than anything on this list. Thanks for watching.